The Lake Orion Robotics Team 302 has been working tirelessly since January 7th, the day that initiated the start of their winter season. Through First Robotics, the team will be competing at district competitions that qualify them for states and maybe even worlds. First stands for inspiration and recognition of science and technology, and their mission is to inspire young people to be science and technology leaders and innovators by engaging them in exciting mentor-based programs that build science, engineering, and technology skills that inspire motivation and foster well-rounded life capabilities, including self-confidence, communication, and leadership. First Robotics competition combines the excitement of sport with the rigors of science and technology. Teams of students are challenged to design, build, and program industrial-sized robots and compete for awards, while they also create a team identity, raise funds, hone teamwork skills, and advance respect and appreciation for STEM within the local community.
So the whole idea of the program is a learning environment for engineering. And so we're constantly applying the engineering process, starting with what are the goals, what are the objectives, what are we trying to achieve, turning those into requirements, then brainstorm how to do that. And then getting the kids to think about that. We make prototypes. We then put things in CAD so that we design the robot in using CAD tools, and then make the parts from the CAD and put the robot together. We have all that is the physical part of it, and then we do the same thing in software. We design and code our own robots. It's a student-coded robot, and there are thousands and thousands of lines of code that make this robot work. It is as complicated as an autonomous vehicle. It has all the same elements. I work at one of the automakers and know how complicated vehicles are. This rivals how complicated, with cameras that can sense and move the robot, control where it's going, and sensors that allow us to tell different things that's going on in its environment to automate things for the drive team.
The Dragons were at their best in 2017 when they won their qualifying field at Worlds and finished in second place. Now we'll see how they shine in 2023 and see if we can repeat history. We follow their winter competition season from week 1 all the way through states, assuming that they qualify.
So in Michigan, we have every team gets 2 districts. So we go to the districts that you qualify for districts based on your performance, or you qualify for states based on the performance in districts. Out of the about 600 teams there are in Michigan, about 160 of them go to the state tournament. From there, that how you did in your qualifiers plus how you do at states, then qualifies you for Worlds. And there will be approximately 80 teams that will exit the Michigan State tournament and go down to Houston for the World Tournament.
The game changes every year, so each team is kept on their toes and creates a new robot for the winter competition season.
So the first Saturday in January, we are given what the game is. This year's game was picking up different elements, cones and cubes throughout the field, and then delivering to a certain spot and placing them for points. And then at the beginning and the end of the match, you tried to balance on a balancing station. And you drive the robot on there, and it tips each way, and you got to drive the robot back and forth until it balances. And it was quite complicated. For one robot, not too bad, but for 3 robots doing it all together, it was entertaining.
There are some rules that each team must comply with when assembling their robot.
Any manufactured part has to be manufactured during your build season. And so any part that you can buy off the shelf, you could use last year's parts or this year's parts. We typically buy a new set of parts for our season, but we have 2 robots. We have what's called our practice robot and our competition robot. The competition robot often uses purchase parts that we might have gotten off previous robots, but the competition robot is all brand new pieces. Everything is machined and manufactured in the 6 weeks we have to build a robot.
Now you may think the district competitions are only about how the robot does on the field, but it also involves presentations relating to the business side of things and what the team did to get their robot where it is at that point. Senior Sydney Martin explains the importance of the Impact Award at these district events and how they relate to the team overall.
So the Impact Award celebrates a team who has created a very substantial mark in their community. They've spread First Robotics, they've spread STEM, they've created a community devoted to education and robotics and learning.
The team's involvement in the community also helps with this award.
302 prides ourselves on being able to connect with our community at so many events and on so many levels. We love going to Dragon on the Lake and having our old robots play catch with the kids, or having the kids play Connect 4 with our robots and letting them drive the robots. It's really a great experience. If we win at our Standish competition, we will compete again at the state championship. Last year, actually, we did win Impact at a district event, and then we competed again at the state championship, and we won that for the first time in team history. I was on the presentation team. I've been on the presentation team since my freshman year. That was probably my favorite moment of any robotics competition that I've ever been to, saying, wow, that is all of our hard work paying off at the state championship. And then we competed for that award at the world championship that same year. So we're hoping to do that again.
Now that we know a little bit more about the team and how the competitions work, let's go to Jackson and see how the Dragons do at their first district event of the season.
Now, you just recently competed. How did you do? Talk about that. Was it your first one of the season?
So it was the first competition of the season. It's what's called week one. And week one is when all of the teams, their first competition can be. In Michigan, there are 5 weeks of competition. Each team does 2 weeks. So you pick the 2 that you're going to do. Ours was week 1, which is last weekend, and then week 3, which is not this weekend coming, but the following one. So we did really well. The kids were prepared. They had practice. They had a well-driven robot, and they ended up in the first place after the qualification rounds. And then during the eliminations, we made it and won the tournament.
Although the Dragons are powerful on their own, they're not competing in these games alone. They're almost always in alliance with 2 other teams.
You run through 12 matches in the qualification. And every match, you're with a different group of partners. So on one match, who you're with, the next match you may be against. And it's 3-on-3. And then when you get done that, based on the ranking, then you get to pick your partners. And you get to, if you're the number 1, you get to pick first. If you're number 2, you get to pick second. And then you end up picking your 2 partners. And then those 2 partners are with you for the elimination round, which is somewhere, depending on how much you win, is approximately 6 matches to get to the finals.
Mentor Bruce Stone makes the Week 1 competition sound like a breeze, but software lead and driver Nick Frisch explains the competition a bit differently.
Yeah, it was really fun. We were almost perfect throughout all of our qualifications. We had 1 tie and then 1 loss, and we were almost upset at playoffs. There's a double elimination bracket, so there's a winner's bracket and kind of a loser's bracket. So we were the first seed alliance, and we were hoping that we would just go all the way through the winner's bracket, have a pretty easy playoff time, and we lost our first match. So we had to fight our way all the way back up from the loser's bracket. But then eventually we did win against the team that we played in the very first match.
Awesome.
After each competition, the team lists on a whiteboard each problem and each requirement that needs to be fixed on the robot. On an organizational level, it seems to keep them in the loop of what they all ought to do next.
We actually have a lot of areas that we would like to improve. One of them is our intake. So right now, to grab the game pieces, we just have a clamp that closes, but we're hoping to improve that by having a motorized wheeled intake. That way we can pick up the game pieces slightly faster, score them slightly faster, and then we can still always practice the human portion of the game. That always needs practice. And then normally we'll be looking around at other robots, seeing what they're doing well, and if we want to copy it, we can.
It's a little bit different community that you see in active sports. You know, you see that one team come in and it's like, oh, I can't believe they're going to be here. Really what it is when you come in, because of the way that the program's set up, it is a bunch of relationships.
First had this whole philosophy of gracious professionalism where we can be working with one team in one match and then be their opponents in the next. So it fosters a lot of help between teams where you might be going against them in your next match, but right before you're helping them code an auton, you're helping them fix an intake. And so it fosters where this philosophy where you want to just improve everyone's game.
I mean, we went to this tournament in Jackson. Jackson's a long ways from here. We went to that tournament because we had relationships with some of the teams that are out in that area of the state. And because we were friends with them, we ended up, the one that we are really strong friends with is one of the teams that's local to Jackson. And we ended up beating them in competition. We walked off the field And the next day we were all talking, and they were asking us for CAD from one of the elements of our robot, and we shared it with them so that we could help them get better. The idea of teams cooperating to make everybody better is one of the foundational principles behind the program that has been created, which is called First Robotics.
Each department, however, does come together with the same goals in mind. The robot returns home with bumps and scratches. These are the battle scars of a robot, and they require teamwork and new ideas.
We all kind of specialize in our own areas. There's fab, there's electrical, business, software, and so we all have our expertise in those areas, and when we all come together, we can make a whole working robot. I'm not going to be the one CNCing parts or wiring up things, but I can do all the software and help control the robot.
Fabrication, I guess to sum up to the average person that doesn't, or the person that doesn't know what that necessarily means, is basically the sub-team that takes the input from other teams such as CAD, and we just fabricate it or build it using power tools, hand tools, etc.
We get something, we build it, we test it, we realize, oh, maybe this isn't how we wanted it, then we take it back, they show us something else, then we build it again. It's all the engineering and design process of how to make it better.
So when you add all those things together, you get something that works like this.
The students operate in a sort that likens them to a business. Each department works effectively and aims to communicate between one another under the guidance of the mentors.
Yeah, I'm a software mentor, and so I help students and mentor them how to write software, how to design it, what techniques we could use, and so on. We're trying to be able to align to these poles or to these boxes using a camera with vision, and I was helping Nick to tune the software so that the robot, when we push, depending on which buttons we push, it aligns correctly to the location where he wants it to align. So that you saw when they were depositing the cones, so it would be able to align to the pipes without him having to move it.
It's doing it by itself.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, so my daughter has been in robotics since middle school, and it's a lot of fun actually. It's what I do at work, but for fun. I like to teach students how to write software, how to design it, and so on, and get the software to do what they want it to do. Very satisfying. It's to me it's a lot of fun. Showing the kids how to write software, how to design it, and then in a bit they do it on their own. It's very satisfying. It's good for the kids to repair and see what broke. Maybe they improve it a bit, so next time it breaks less. That's how they learn.
It is curious how the team first came to robotics. After talking with many of them, we discovered that their interest dates back to childhood.
I got into fabrication just based off my interests from when I was little, building Legos. I just always wanted to work with tools and just always being interested in that kind of stuff when I was little. And I learned that I loved it. I loved building things with Legos, and just it inspired me that I wanted to do something like this one day, and just build stuff that moves.
I've always worked with a bunch of stuff with my dad since he builds houses, works on cars, does everything like that. All the mentors are very prosperous, very positive, and it was very easy, I would say. I always wanted to join robotics since middle school. I just never had time to. I've always found it to be interesting, something to get in, something to build stuff, get to work with power tools, get to incorporate different mechanics into building a robot that competes, everything like that. I just thought it was really fun, so I joined this year.
I didn't really have any interest in robotics before coming in. I was just like, hey, I want to join a club here at the high school or some sort of group, and I was like, robotics seems like it'd be interesting, so I just was like, man, I'll try it. I have friends joining, and I ended up really liking it, so I've stayed for 4 years. I've learned how to use our CNC. I've used how to use our water jet over in the corner of the shop. I know how to 3D print. I know how to use 4 different CAD softwares. I've taught at least 10 people how to use those CAD softwares, so I know a lot now.
Despite the copious ideas and strong desire to thrive, the team can't always achieve what they want in time for competitions.
We handle setbacks pretty well. I mean, sometimes it doesn't go to plan. So for example, this robot, our comp bot, we had planned to put an active intake on it, so it'd be it'd have motors on it that would basically spin to pick up game pieces, but there was a little we couldn't get it designed in time for this upcoming competition, so we decided to pivot and perfect our current design, which is just passive.
Most students this year are achieving things for the first time, so Team 302 is excited for their next competition and has a lot of confidence from their overall win at Jackson.
This is the first year in a couple that we won the whole thing, so that was a great experience. It was my first time winning a whole qualifier at this level.
I think that we've been working hard all season, and I feel like that if we go out there and we show off everything we put into this season, I think if we just to the best of our capability, we can just go out there and show everyone how hard we've been working all season and just win it. We're currently 7th in the state right now, and our record is 16-2-1. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good record. It's the excitement, showing everything that we've done, just going out there and having fun, always smiling.
Yeah, we actually had our first competition last weekend where we placed first place overall. We had 11 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie, I think, throughout it. We did really well. I think it was very competitive, but we're looking really strong for next week.
It's always a bit stressful, but at the end it's a lot of fun. The atmosphere, the competition is amazing. So.
There's going to be like 3 or 4 teams that are equivalent to our level, so I think it'll just come down to like a bit of luck, because the stuff like you get random match schedules and then that determines your seeding, and your seeding matters a ton. So we'll have to see how it goes, but statistically right now we should be one of the top 2 teams.
Yeah, you have to keep things moving. I mean, this game is really the whole thing is a time constraint. It's just a race to the finish, and you start off behind and you got to work your way up. So we always talk to each other and make sure that we're all on the same page and set goals, and we reach those goals, and that's how we stay on track.
We all do that as one team. That's like our little saying, one team, because we all work together, and if there's like a problem, we solve it as one team. Yeah.
With that, let's go to Standish for week 3.
The Dragons once again have tasted victory as the Lake Orion Robotics team was at Standish this weekend and placed first in their district competition. Now they are returned home, riding a high and waiting for their next competition.
I feel really proud of everyone. It's a great accomplishment. It's really great to see. We've got a second banner for the season. That's really impressive. That's really heartwarming for us. And we're on our way to States and Worlds, hopefully. The banner is just, the cherry on top of the cake, the icing. Obviously, everyone contributed to the win. Everyone had a great time getting there. We all screamed our hearts out in the stands, cheering on our team. Overall, it was just a great experience, bonding, and we're also proud of our drive team who were able to, literally drive the robot to victory. And we got to have a great time, bonding with one another, creating those connections.
So you guys won, eh?
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Feels pretty good. I was part of the drive team. I was actually a human player, so I was on the field helping out the robot.
It's really fun. You have 2 other teammates with you that you've kind of picked beforehand, so you're all shaking hands, high-fiving, because you sort of hobble it all together in the first half of the day, and then from there you're set for the playoffs. So it's really fun to create this team at noon and then win with them at 5 o'clock.
Is there any funny stories that happened during the competition?
We had just gotten out of a big presentation, and I get a call. We finally got walkie-talkies for the first time for this competition. And I had a walkie-talkie, and one of my friends in the stand had a walkie-talkie, and one of my friends in the pit had a walkie-talkie. And as we're walking out of our little cafeteria section after doing this presentation, I hear the walkie-talkie go off saying, there are people in the pit and they want to know about the business plan. There are people in the pit and we want to know about the business plan. And I'm saying, we just got out of the presentation. How fast do you need us to get there? They're saying, just come now. So I sprint down as fast as I can to try and get there on time. I get there, I'm out of breath. And I have to pull it together and say, okay, here's how our fundraising works. It was funny. That's not the first time that's happened either.
So you had to run down there while they're like ill prepared.
Run down there. No, they were not ill prepared. They were doing a great job covering, but I'm running down there thinking, I've got to get there fast. I've got to get there. It was very it was very interesting.
Well, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Team 302 actually won at Standish undefeated, but that doesn't mean they have nothing they want to improve or make more efficient. The 3 weeks of downtime the team had after the Week 3 event gave them time to finally initiate an idea they've had since their first competition.
At Standish, our last competition, we had a passive intake, but since then we have created and designed a new active intake, which is now on the robot, and it is at our other facility working on autons and being programmed, and our software team says that it is working very well, so we're actually really excited to go to States with it.
So during the autonomous portion, which is what we've been testing, we finally got those mad spins in. Normally, during the driver-controlled portion, I'll be spinning all around when I'm driving across the field. But we finally got it working in this pre-programmed portion, and it's working pretty well. We're still doing some fine-tuning, but we finally got the functionality in, and so it's really exciting to see us have all this more capability.
Recently, yesterday, we've been doing some upgrades on the robot and also fixing the problems because we don't want to go into states with any sort of disadvantage. We've been preparing, we're going to get all of our materials ready for states so we can bring them, have them in the pit, so we're never going to be caught off guard by any breaks in the robot, really anything, and so we can help other teams in the spirit of gracious professionalism. Recently, specifically, I fixed the banner sensor yesterday on the robot, and we also had a issue we resolved with an Ethernet cable for the radio of the robot. It was losing connection whenever we hit a bump or anything, so because that's fixed, hopefully we're not going to have that same problem again. The banner sensor is a sensor, and its whole job is to detect when we've got a cube or a cone in our grasp, so we can kind of know when we should head back to place it.
So the biggest change we made to the robot was we added an active intake. So before, our grabber didn't have any active wheels, so our wheels didn't spin. But now our wheels spin and we're a lot faster, and I feel we're doing a lot better, as well as we had some software changes to just make the robot overall easier to use and better.
Now we find out how the team feels right before the state championship.
I think we'll do pretty well with our new intake. Of course, we are versing higher level teams, but it's just a challenge, and I'm hoping we might win an award, maybe even a business award or an engineering award, which we won at our last competition. But I just feel like the turnouts, I got a good feeling about the states.
For states, I am excited. Currently, we're ranked number 2 in the state, so we've got a good position as of now, and I think we could go all the way. No promises. This is just speculation. But so far, we've been looking really good. This is one of 302's best years ever, so I am very, very hopeful.
I'm very excited for states. I think we've got a pretty good shot going into it. I think most importantly, we're going to do our best, and I think our best is, we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah. We can only do as good as we think we can do, or as good as our robot can do. I think we're going to do really well, though. I think we have a pretty good shot.
I haven't researched who's on our field, who we're going up against, if they're incredibly strong teams that we should be afraid of, or if they're teams at our level. But right now, ranking-wise and how we've done, we won Standish undefeated, so I'd say we have a really good shot, and we could go probably past our area in the bracket, like our forward field, and we might even win, but that's just speculation again.
Let's go to Saginaw Valley State University for the state competition.
To conclude the coverage of their season, We asked how the state competition went with the games, but also encouraged the telling of stories from their experiences over the weekend.
It went great. The kids did fantastic. Had a lot of very competitive matches, and some of them were wins, some of them were losses, but it learned how to just drive better and get more competitive on every match throughout the competition.
Went pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I think I was a little bit disappointed by our ranking overall because in previous weeks we'd been ranked 8th, and now I believe we're at 23rd. And that's really nice. That's actually something huge because Michigan has one of the biggest, just in the general sense, we have the most teams out of all of the states, and I think that's really huge that we can say that we're 23rd out of, I don't even know how many teams. I couldn't even give you a number. 600. 600. 23 out of 600. It's not many people can say that, and I think that we're very fortunate for that.
I'd say it went well with so many teams competing in this season. There's so many teams in Michigan. We placed, I believe, 10th in the event, which we at the team, and we are also proud of it. Even if it's not first, it's still really hard to accomplish, and we're all proud of ourselves for it.
The robot that fell over, I think just the kids, they get a little excited at the beginning. The first matches, there's a lot of people watching, and they want to really perform well, and I think it's just a little bit of that going on with the teams. But
I believe our 20th match, our robot tipped over because there's a failure in on-time miscommunication, which communication is a big part on the drive team especially. So when it tipped over, we were down for the entire round. The other team, our teammates, they went, I guess they succeeded. They helped us a lot, and we won that round. But tipping over is still catastrophic.
Made it a huge gasp, but we worked it out, and they kept playing.
We were working with one of our alliance partners, and they selected their wrong routine, and so right near the end, our robot's going up this ramp, and it's slowly tipping over because they chose the wrong auton. And so it was just crazy to see our robot slowly tip over and then just be dead the whole match. It was really hard to just stand there because you can't do anything about it.
The competitive spirit grows as the final competitions get even closer. A friendly prank from another team was found all over and even inside Team 302's robot.
A lot of favorite moments. We did one activity we did was we gave another team an award for doing things that were really doing things that helped other teams and helped the environment they were working in when nobody was looking. They weren't looking for credit or anything else, and we gave them a trophy that was about this tall.
Yeah, so we have a team called 3641, the Flying Toasters, that we've kind of formed a bond with. We're pretty close. We play pranks on them, they play pranks on us. We've been doing this for a long time, a few years maybe.
Yes, I did hear that we got pranked, but I did not hear that at the beginning. It was something to do with Easter eggs because of the holidays. The toasters.
So on Saturday morning, we walked into our pit and it was filled with 302 eggs. It was actually 300 because they took out the numbers 36 and 41 because that's their team number. But it was filled to the brim with eggs. In our toolbox, in our pit, on our robot, on the robot cart, it was everywhere. And they filled every single egg with these little tiny sticky dragons and 3D printed toasters that they made, and a bunch of candy and stuff, and it was really cool.
What are you looking forward to going to Worlds?
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing all the teams there. There's people there are so friendly. I get to meet a lot of new people, make new friends, and just see everyone, a robot that's around the world, see how they've constructed theirs, and see how they like to play the game.
I think it'll definitely be fun. We'll see teams from different countries, and so that's always a really fun experience. And then, again, the level of competition just keeps improving, and so it'll be interesting to see whether teams start focusing on defense or just trying to go all out, trying to maximize their gameplay.
This is all we have for our audience.
But on behalf of Marco and I and everyone at On TV, we wish Team 302 great success at the World's competition down in Houston.